A woman once asked me a question one evening that seemed straightforward at first, but it actually showed something far more profound. "Why do men change over time?" she asked. I'm truly perplexed, not resentful or furious. She clarified that men are initially focused, involved, and emotionally present before gradually, almost silently, withdrawing. Emotionally, albeit not always physically. At that point, women begin acting in accordance with what they have been taught. They try to make things better, give more, explain more, and love more. In some way, it only exacerbates the situation. I want to discuss why that occurs today and, more significantly, how to stop it. Men don't emotionally distance themselves at random. Additionally, people do not develop an emotional addiction at random. A man's link with a woman is maintained by a particular internal emotional state. This bond is deep and long-lasting rather than fleeting or intense. And everything else begins to make sense once you grasp it. Women should ask this question, but they don't often. How can I increase his love for me? Is a question that most women ask. What a man needs to feel to be emotionally committed, however, is a more pertinent topic. Men are bonded by identification rather than by reason. In the best sense of the word, a guy stays where he feels most like himself. Furthermore, pursuing, persuading, or offering too much is not the source of that emotion. First, let's face the harsh reality. Women who are incredibly accommodating don't emotionally connect with men. They are respected, valued, and at ease with them. However, comfort by itself does not lead to emotional addiction. Stability is produced by comfort. Emotional activation is the root cause of addiction. No, I'm not referring to drama. Well, address that. A brief journey through time. Crucial. Men had a very distinct internal function thousands of years ago, long before dating apps, texting, and good morning messages. They were respected for their choices, deeds, and capacity to influence results. When a man believed that his actions mattered, not in theory, but in practice, he developed an emotional link with a woman. When he brought about change. When contrast was established by his absence. That wiring simply became obscured by contemporary chaos, but it never vanished. The feeling that fosters a lasting bond. Impact is the feeling. Not affirmation, not commendation, nor respect. Influence. The sensation that a man's presence, decisions, and actions affect you emotionally might lead to emotional addiction. That he is felt rather than merely present. This is where a lot of women inadvertently fall short. Why it backfires to understand too much. Women are often advised to be understanding in today's world. Don't put any pressure on him. Give him room. Even though the concepts are sound, they are frequently implemented incorrectly. Because a delicate thing happens when a lady becomes incredibly empathetic. Her feelings become less intense. Everything starts to get better. Everything starts to make sense. Everything turns into a neutral state. Additionally, neutrality destroys emotional ties. In a relationship, when nothing he does elicits an emotional reaction, a man cannot feel influential. A straightforward comparison. Be mindful. Consider a pair of women. Woman A, he's running late. It's all right. Something slips his mind. Don't worry. He retreats. I get it. She is composed, steady, and emotionally responsible. Woman B, he's running late. She starts to get quieter. Something slips his mind. She withdraws a little of her warmth. He puts out effort. She lets her emotions show. She doesn't argue. She doesn't pester. She answers. Which woman, in your opinion, is on his mind? Just that. However, emotional flatlines don't appeal to guys. This is the unpleasant reality. A man's efforts are ineffective if he feels that way. His absence goes unnoticed. Your emotional condition is unaffected by his presence. The bond is classified as low impact by his brain. Relationships with little influence feel secure and interchangeable. Therapists would have waiting lines full of married men who are deeply in love if men linked through unrestricted emotional tolerance. They don't. Because knowing is not the only thing that leads to connection. Emotional cause and effect is how it occurs. The distinction between connection and stability. Relationships are sustained by stability. It is valuable because of attachment. And what men defend is value. What feels meaningful is protected by a man. He makes investments in things that seem to have an impact. He develops an addiction to things that give him a sense of emotional relevance. In every man's head, there is a silent query. Men never ask this aloud, but they are always observing something on the inside. Does she really care how I show up? If the answer is yes, attachment grows. Detachment starts if the response is negative. Love has nothing to do with this. It is entirely related to identity. Why it's usually not successful to try harder. Women tend to begin more, explain more, reassure more, and pursue more when they perceive emotional distance. Ironically, this eliminates the same element that fosters bonding. Because now, his presence isn't required. He doesn't have to make the effort. He is not rewarded for his leadership. He is no longer necessary. Furthermore, no man develops an addiction to being optional. The first rule you need to know: you have to comprehend this before we proceed. When a man feels needed, he does not form an emotional attachment. When he feels effective, he bonds. Pressure arises from needing him. It gives you purpose to respond to him. And men will go across oceans with a cause. We need to discuss how to foster long-term attachment without ruining the relationship now that you know what emotion causes it. Because most women make mistakes in this area. When they hear concepts like impact, response, or emotional consequence, they instantly assume that they must act dramatic, aloof, or cold. No. That is hardly a sign of strength. That's insecurity disguised in a cunning way. The distinction between emotional punishment and emotional consequence. Let's make a crucial clarification. Silent treatment sounds like emotional punishment. Withholding love in order to exert control. Emotionally, making him pay. That doesn't lead to addiction. Resentment is the result. Conversely, emotional consequences are far more subdued. It simply implies that your emotional condition reacts to his appearance in a natural way. Nothing was coerced. Nothing tactical. Nothing dramatic. Just frank, heartfelt comments. The significance of calm reactions compared to arguments. This is something that many women find surprising. Arguments don't really affect males. Emotional changes affect them. He concentrates on protecting himself when you quarrel. His neurological system becomes resistant. He becomes aware when you shift in a calm manner. He thinks. He senses the effect. When used spontaneously, silence communicates more than words. Consider this situation. A man makes a last-minute cancellation after promising to spend time with you. There are two common ways that women react. Option 1, don't worry about it, it's okay. Wow. Option 2, I knew I couldn't rely on you. This is what you usually do. Both are unsuccessful. Race an impactful response. In fact, I was excited to see you. Later, I'll speak with you. No rage. No remorse. No justification. Just space and emotional sincerity. There is no modification in that area. It's a result. Why this is so effective on men: an internal process takes place when a man goes through this. He doesn't feel assaulted. He doesn't feel in charge. He feels accountable. Accountable for his appearance. You are accountable for your emotions. In charge of the emotional bond. Additionally, duty fosters connection when it is freely chosen. Emotional selectivity's function. Over-explaining your emotions is the quickest way to destroy emotional attachment. Justifications, lectures, analyses, and excessive communication eliminate mystery, emotional weight, and impact. Men don't connect with explanations. Their shared experiences have bonded them. Allow your feelings to be experienced rather than analyzed. Why the bond is reversed by chasing something subtly shifts the instant you pursue your emotions. He feels that her emotional stability depends on me rather than that my presence is important. It's pressure. Distance is also produced by pressure. Men go toward fulfilling things rather than those that seem to keep people together. How to make a man feel unreplaceable? This is the contradiction. You must not present a man as essential if you want him to feel indispensable. You exhibit pleasure rather than reliance. Warmth, not fear. Presence rather than pursuit. He feels selected rather than utilized as a result. And selected men remain. Men are constantly running in the silent tests. Although most guys won't admit it, they see this on the inside. Does my behavior affect her perception of me? The link strengthens if the response is in the affirmative. The relationship weakens if the response is negative. This is wiring, not cruelty. The last change you have to make. Don't inquire how to keep a man if you want to form a lifelong emotional bond with him. Ask yourself, how do I let him feel his impact on me? Don't chase, just respond. Don't flatten, feel. Let his presence be important. This has nothing to do with games, control, or manipulation. It involves comprehending the fundamentals of emotional psychology. Men stay where they matter, not where they are needed. Show him that you are moved by what he is doing. Instead of being automated, make your warmth responsive. Allow emotional intimacy to be earned rather than assured. Because emotionally attached men don't stray, you won't have to persuade, pursue, or worry about losing him if you do that. I'll see you in the upcoming video. This is Delete Psychology.